Hey everyone, Sir Owen Disney here, and I've solved the light situation, at least for the time being, at least during the day. Look behind me. No sun! That is awesome! And I am seeing natural light in this room for the first time in forever. So I thought at least for the day videos, I would try to utilize my window, which you obviously cannot see, and that is creating the natural light that is my backdrop. Makes a lot more sense than using the lamp, this nice, really bright light above me. So, let's get started. I do want to say that it's been a minute since we've talked about Orlando's event, and I'm sorry for that. The only reason why is because there hasn't been any developments until now. Now, if you're watching this video and you are going to attend the event in Hollywood, I will state right now, right off the top, before I go any further, that any Hollywood speculation will be labeled just that, HHN 24 Hollywood speculation, or some form of those words. Now, if I post a video that has nothing on it except for HHN 24 speculation or HHN 24 and different sentences afterwards, you will know right now that it will be an Orlando video. This is an Orlando video. We're going to talk about some new speculation, some new information that has come down the pike. Yeah, I know, I can't not say down the pike, apparently. I'll try my best not to, as much as I can, but still, come down the pike seems to be something I've been saying a lot lately. Don't know why, just kind of goes there. But we have some new speculation and some new information. New information coming in two main forms. One of which being emails, very strange emails sent to a source. The source being Mystic Freak, who is very well known on the Halloween Horror Nights forums and the Facebook groups, the various Facebook groups. And I will discuss those in just a moment. But before I get started with that, I want to talk about Dr. Jimmy. Dr. Jimmy is at it yet again, and this time he's not doing cryptic comments. He's doing cryptic performances. So Dr. Jimmy is utilizing show tunes of some manner. Right now it has been of the Broadway variety, and one which was taken from television, actually, and will be interesting to see where he goes from there. And of course, we're using these songs to connect to our properties for this year, our 8 properties for this year, and maybe he'll end up doing songs to connect to our scare zones or our street experiences here in Orlando. So, we started off with the first Dr. Jimmy cryptic performance, and it was a rather interesting one, actually. He chose this time to talk about Masquerade. Masquerade from the Phantom of the Opera, and not the Broadway version of the Phantom of the Opera, the theatrical version of the Phantom of the Opera, the Emmy Rossum Gerard Butler film. Now, it's interesting because if you read into the lyrics, there were a few things that immediately jumped to mind. And my fellow Horror Nights updaters have jumped to a lot of different conclusions, and most of us are on the same page. So I think that we're pretty positive at this point that this cryptic performance is leading to Halloween. Halloween is something I said on January 5th, within the next 3 years, would be coming to the event. Now, I thought it would be a great cornerstone for the horror homecoming that I keep talking about. I don't know anything about it, I'm just guessing because it's an anniversary year, we're going to get a horror homecoming of sorts and bring back some former icons, and some icons that never were, for next year's event. It's going to be very original heavy. But it will have a few IPs that are going to be able to pacify the general public, mainly being Michael Myers and Halloween. So, the first cryptic performance would lead to Halloween. Well, it's interesting, because there are a couple other possibilities. Several of which that have been mentioned, and one that hasn't. There were some mentioning of trick-or-treat. Obviously, trick-or-treat is something that everyone seems to want, and it's something that they're leading towards. And something that is also connected via something else, but I'll talk about that in a second. I'm being really random, aren't I? Now, I'm just talking about Dr. Jimmy's cryptic performances right now. I will go further and talk about Dr. Jimmy's Tumblr, if it matters at all, or if it's just red herrings, which they're literally pictures of red herrings, and also the emails that have been received. The 4 clues that are on the emails as of this moment. But just connecting to Dr. Jimmy's performances only. Other options have been, like I said, trick or treat. There's a lyric that says, "Hide your face so the world will never find you." Makes sense given the fact that Sam is the spirit of Halloween and obviously took the form of a child dressed as a scarecrow in order to do his bidding. So, hiding your face so no one can see you, that makes sense. It also plays up the Phantom of the Opera themselves. And the thing about that is, that's way too obvious to be correct. Will we see the Phantom of the Opera in a house? Again, obviously he was in the House of Horrors, but will we see an actual Phantom of the Opera house? I don't know. I highly doubt it, but it's not going to be this year if it does end up happening. Other connections we see right now is apparently there's a connection to the Rapture in BioShock, so our video game property that we're hearing about will possibly come to the event. There were people that were connecting them to the nurses in Nightingales, also a long-anticipated house that everyone said was coming to the event this year that may or may not actually come this year. There are some whispers lately saying that we may not see Nightingales this year at the event. I guess we'll find out sooner rather than later. Other connections are to The Purge, which I said also on that January 5th video that you can check out on the Halloween Horror Nights playlist or on Pop, that I said one way or another The Purge was coming to the event, and I truly believe that that will be our first house reveal on July 18th promoting The Purge Anarchy when it comes out. Hollywood will announce it as a house in the Terror Tram, and Orlando will announce it as a street experience and a house itself. That's what I truly believe. We'll get our first reveal, just like with Evil Dead when the DVD came out, and it was promoting the house on both Orlando and Hollywood properties. That street date got broken, and we found out way before we were supposed to. I think that's what's going to happen with The Purge this year. I think The Purge is coming to the event. Whether some people like it or not, it's coming to the event, and I'm excited for it because I very much enjoy The Purge. But is The Purge connecting to Masquerade? No, it's not. I have a reason why, and I'll get to that in a second. Now, the other option is something that no one is talking about. And I watch everyone's videos, like hopefully you guys watch mine, and I have seen something in this that is not necessarily right, but it's something you need to think about. Okay, now it's really interesting that Dr. Jimmy chose the version of Masquerade from the theatrical version of Phantom of the Opera, and not the Broadway version of Phantom of the Opera. The lyrics were changed a bit, obviously, in this version than they were in the Broadway version. Now, here's the thing why. Now, in the song, there is a line that has been connected to Halloween numerous times, and I get that completely. But the line is, "Every face a different shade, masquerade, look around, there's another mask behind you." Now, granted, for my speculation, we're not necessarily talking about a mask, but we're talking about a different shade and something right behind you. Yes, it is a possibility, even though I am going to go with the consensus and say that this is probably connecting to Halloween. And I'm going to go with speculation that this might be connecting to Insidious. The reason why is obviously the evil red guy, the lipstick, I believe his name is the lipstick, come on, evil thing, lipstick face demon. Yes, I knew it was lipstick something. I hate the first Insidious, so I mean, I don't want to think about that movie. I like the second one, don't get me wrong. Who's in Insidious? Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson is in the Phantom of the Opera. That's a very intriguing connection that no one's picking up on. Now, granted, if you are out there watching this video and you did pick up on this, I have yet to see personally a speculation of this even potentially being Insidious. I am going to say this is Halloween. I think that is a pretty solid guarantee at this point that we are actually going to be getting Halloween this year. And we're going to be getting John Carpenter's Halloween this year. I can't 100% guarantee that, but I'm very, very positive that it is more of a guarantee now than ever before. And it fits in with the coming in 3 years thing that I said in January. So if it does happen, I called it a long time ago. But I'm sure a lot of you out there want to see it and are going to be very happy when it comes to the event. Especially my friend John, obviously, is going to be extremely happy to see it at the event. And I know Mike Aiello is going to be extremely excited to be able to bring it to the event, finally. It's one of the last horror slashers that has not shown up at the event. Obviously, there's one more, but Mike Aiello, please, I know if you watch this video, please, I implore you, bring Ghostface to Halloween Horror Nights. I'm a big Scream fan. I want to see Scream brought to Halloween Horror Nights properly. I want a full house devoted to it. Scream's getting older in the years, so I mean, you're going to eventually get to the point in a couple years it's going to be a classic. And it's already a classic in some people's minds, and I'm one of them. I think that Scream needs to come to the event eventually. A full house of Scream, not just a scene. I'm talking a full house of Scream, and I think that needs to happen soon. So hopefully, eventually it will. So yeah, that's what we've got right now. So Masquerade has basically been connected to Trick or Treat. It has been connected to The Purge. It has been connected to Nightingales. And it has been connected to BioShock. And obviously the big one that everyone is connecting it to, including myself, is Halloween. But like I said, what if it's Insidious? The connection is there. You really just got to read between the lines. So Dr. Jimmy decides to throw out another one. And this time he sings Fully Dressed from Annie. Now, Fully Dressed, to me, is just like a given. Reading the lyrics, only one thing comes to mind. But before I talk about what comes to mind for me, I'm going to say what a lot of people are speculating on. Talking about a smile. And talking about you're never fully dressed without a smile. Who's never fully dressed without a smile? A clown. And playing into the speculation that Jack is returning this year, which I'll discuss later on in this video, based upon a couple of the other things we have been hearing lately. This also could equal out to something that Dr. Jimmy joked about in his April Fool's video, and bring killer clowns from outer space to the event. It is a possibility. Or it could connect to Pennywise, bringing it to the event, and our first Stephen King property to the event, which everyone was speculating that King was going to come to the event this year, including myself, especially with some of the clues that we were going to get The Shining this year, but like I said, I'll get to that in a minute. So, there's more to it than that. Now, obviously, when you connect the killer clowns from outer space and you connect Pennywise from it, you also have to connect Insidious as well. Once again, Insidious is something I don't like talking about because I don't like the movie, so there's all that speculation. But there's one thing that jumps out immediately, and 100% immediately. I've already alluded to it earlier in the video, and I already discussed it a little bit earlier in the video, but now I'm going to say right now. I truly believe at this very moment that the connection to Fully Dressed from Annie is The Purge. Yes, think about it from this perspective. You've got you're never fully dressed without a smile. If you remember the original killers from the first Purge, you will see that all of them had a very gaudy smile on their mask. And it also says something about it doesn't matter what you wear, it doesn't matter if you're a senator or a janitor, it doesn't matter if you're high class or low class, middle class, or if you're a homeless guy. It doesn't matter what you look like, because all can get involved in the purge, obviously. So every man, woman, and child is purging, and they all have the smile on their face when they're doing it, whether it's right or wrong. So yes, I will say right now that Annie's fully dressed definitely connects to the purge. Dr. Jimmy threw out another one, and this was a rather interesting one, and it's one other thing that sparked speculation from the April Fool's video, and that was O Streetcar. O Streetcar is when The Simpsons took on a streetcar named Desire. And the song was called New Orleans. And there's obviously a first thing that jumps out right away. We're getting our American Horror Story house. And it looks like it would be themed towards Coven. Now, I said earlier this year that with the extreme success of Deathwater Bayou at Busch Gardens this year, Universal has been wanting to do a voodoo-themed house for a long time, and Busch Gardens beat them to it. So when Howl-O-Scream threw out Deathwater Bayou, Universal was on the clock, and they had to realize that they needed to put out their voodoo house as well. So the immediate connection, without going any further, is American Horror Story, which I said back in my speculation video in January that it was going to be in the Parade Building if they had it. Perfect location for the house, makes perfect sense to me. Don't necessarily think it needs a soundstage, at least not yet. Don't forget, Walking Dead did not start out in a soundstage, and as of this very moment, still has not been in a soundstage. So, why not start in the Parade Building? Makes sense, right? Look, Walking Dead started out in Disaster Queue, so I mean, it took a bit to move to the Parade Building. Now, you start out American Horror Story in the Parade Building. Or, maybe this is connecting to vampires via New Orleans. And obviously, we're all talking about a potential return of the event of Dracula. Another connection to the House of Horrors from earlier, in 2012. Now, we also could be getting an original vampire house, or an original voodoo-themed house, which is possible. Which is a very interesting prospect. Or the connection to all of this could be connected to another thing. Don't forget, Dr. Jimmy utilized a Simpsons song. This makes me think this property will be in the sprung tent behind The Simpsons. That's a way to look at it, honestly. And maybe a strange way to look at it, but it's a way to look at it. So right now, it looks like we're looking at least from Dr. Jimmy's cryptic performances, Halloween, The Purge, and potentially either American Horror Story or a original voodoo or vampire-themed house, which I think is probably going to happen. Now, there's other things floating around right now. And I'll start with Dr. Jimmy's Tumblr, which in the past has been clues to potential IPs for the event. Obviously, when everyone could not get the cryptic comments figured out, Dr. Jimmy posted 8 pictures on his Tumblr. Those 8 pictures did equal out to being our 8 houses from last year's event. Now, it's interesting that Dr. Jimmy himself said that these pictures are not necessarily clues. He likes to post pictures, so maybe there's something behind it, maybe it's not. If you look at Dr. Jimmy's Tumblr right now, you can see that he's very heavy on last year's event and posting pictures from Hollywood at this point. This is maybe a potential connection that we're going to be getting a lot of Hollywood properties this year. I don't necessarily believe that's the case. But some of these pictures are rather intriguing. Now, Psycho Massacre Films did speculate on a couple of these things, and I share a lot of his opinions. And I will say that there were a couple of things that were interesting that popped up. Dr. Jimmy's Tumblr currently has a picture of Eyes Wide Shut. And like a ballroom scene from Eyes Wide Shut. And obviously Eyes Wide Shut with the masks, and it could 100% be talking about The Purge. Now it's funny because there is a robot baby, that operates on kind of like a radio-controlled car, and that picture is literally from The Purge. So yes, connection completely to The Purge. And we also talked about another image, and we're talking about New Orleans and voodoo and American Horror Story connecting to Coven. And there is a image of Mary Laveau's House of Voodoo, which obviously connects to American Horror Story. Now there are geishas, and I don't know exactly what two geishas mean. Maybe Japanese horror. Maybe it's just Dr. Jimmy wanted to post geishas. It's possible. A hockey face-off. That's interesting. And there is an artist named Chet Zar, and he has a clown with a gas mask, and it still could be connecting to clowns, the Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Jack the Clown, potential anything. Speaking of with the hockey face-off, there is an image of Alien versus Predator. Now, there is extreme speculation right now we are getting Alien this year, and I truly believe it probably will happen. I think it's almost a guarantee that Alien is coming out this year. Mike Aiello posted a message on the Horror Nights Orlando Twitter feed, and it was a picture about like a cover sheet for the maze, and I don't remember exactly what he called it. Let me see if I can find it on camera here, probably because I want to make sure this is correct. It's the maze deck for a creative rollout of one of the licenses for this year. And the only thing you can see is scenic large metal. When I think large metal, the only thing that comes to mind is something rather astronomical. Yes, it is Alien. And it also connects to the email that was let out that Predator would potentially come to the event this year. And it's interesting that we are leading towards both Alien and Predator, or potentially Alien versus Predator, what I talked about in the speculation video, one of the speculation videos for Hollywood, actually, being a shared IP. Now, I will say right now that, like I said, this is connecting to Alien. We get the Myers house from Halloween. Obviously, I don't think that is a red herring. I think that's a literal clue that we are getting Halloween this year. The vampire, which obviously we see that we're potentially getting the vampire house, which could end up connecting to the original house, which leads up to the New Orleans quote. There is a boogeyman hiding under the bed, which means that our Urban Legends house this year, as expected, is going to be the boogeyman. Not El Kuki, which was in Hollywood, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Don't forget, I badly butchered La Llorona so many times before I actually learned the legitimate pronunciation of it. Yeah, I believe that we're getting our Urban Legends house this year to continue, and this time it's going to be talking about the boogeyman. And maybe El Chupacabra in 2015, which is a possibility. Now, there are a flock of crows, which may or may not be potential nightingales. You never know. It's a possibility that could be equaling out to the rumors that we're getting a Nightingale sequel house this year. There's a picture of Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin, of course, was known as the Great Dictator, and maybe that's connecting to Adolf Hitler, potentially. Maybe connecting to a war type, or, again, maybe connecting to nightingales in one form or another. There is a picture of Baker's and Chef chocolate pudding, which, of course, apparently Carl ate on The Walking Dead. So, a lot of people's nightmares come to fruition, something I predicted a long time ago, that The Walking Dead will return to the event. And it's very possible it still could. And the best picture of all, the first of these pictures, was a cat with a mask on with a red herring in its mouth. Dr. Jimmy, you're a genius, sir. We get our next set of pictures, which also include the lipstick face demon from Insidious, which of course we know that's going to happen. There was an older horror film called Burnt Offerings, and it's like a dream sequence from that. Killer Bob, as well as Philip Jeffries from Twin Peaks. David Lynch coming to Halloween Horror Nights. That's interesting. I like that idea, actually. The League of Gentlemen Christmas special, as well as a League of Gentlemen connection to Papa Lazaru's Carnival. The Cheeseman from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, a connection to the Bunny from Cabin Fever. More clowns, lots of clown imagery. There is a movie called The Babadook, and that is there, and another thing, the man in the bear suit from The Shining, so yeah. Interesting. Does this have to do with anything? Who knows? Maybe Dr. Jimmy's just posting hints, or maybe he's just posting because he wants to post. I can post a picture of Tony Danza saying he's the icon this year because he's the boss, after all, and I did so on Facebook, but that doesn't mean I think Tony Danza is going to be the icon. It means that I'm making a joke. Maybe Dr. Jimmy is just posting pictures. Maybe there's nothing behind this at all. Maybe it's a total work. Maybe Dr. Jimmy's like, I just want to post pictures. If anything, he's getting people talking, and that's always a good thing. It's always fun to be chatting about this, given the fact that it's only May 7th right now. So, 3 very interesting pictures connect to an IP that everyone's wanted, and there's pictures of Brett Kelly from Bad Santa, and of course, he played Charlie in Trick or Treat, Charlie Bucket from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and a picture of Charlie Brown. Now, apparently, all of these do connect to Trick or Treat, and thanks to Dr. Emmett Brown 1 for coming up with this and connecting us to Trick or Treat. So, does that mean that Trick or Treat is a foregone conclusion for the event this year? I think it ends up being a shared IP in Hollywood and Orlando. I think it's a very good possibility it's going to happen. So, what do we got right now? We're looking at all these speculations. And that's just Dr. Jimmy's speculation. So is there anything behind it? Who knows? I guess only Dr. Jimmy knows for sure. And obviously, he's not talking about it. And I wouldn't either when it comes to this, because this is all awesome speculation. Now, if you are following any of the Orlando theme park forums, especially Orlando United, you would know of a gentleman named Hate to Fly. And Hate to Fly had a lot of speculation talking about there'd be an icon of a master of sorts, and we would talk about that. Well, there is some interesting speculation of sorts that are coming down the way right now that is a little different. And I will talk about that in a second. Now, Dr. Jimmy also posted some information on cartomancy and tarot, and using 8 tarot cards of the Baroque Bohemian Cat variety to equal out to your potential 8 houses for the event, and potentially our street experiences for the event. Now, I obviously have no idea how to even research tarot, so I cannot go into it, but I can at least tell you that Dr. Jimmy, through the magic of tarot cards, have said that there is a potential that our 8 houses are connected to the Magician, the 6 of Coins, the 2 of Swords, the 2 of Cups, the High Priestess, the 4 of Cups, the Tower, the 5 of Cups. And our street experiences would be the 3 of Coins, or Pentacles. So obviously with tarot you connect coins and pentacles apparently. So if the 6 of Coins would be the 6 of Pentacles. So yeah. Don't know what's going on with that, but I mean, if you know anything about it, leave a comment at the bottom here and let me know what you think it might be. Now there's another thing. Now, the Earthfit shows up last year and started posting pictures trying to get us to link to our properties for the event, and did a decent job. Now this year, it went a little bit differently. Now, apparently, Mystic Freak, out of nowhere, just started receiving these very weird emails with interesting imagery. And this person to be known as Casilda Carcosa. CC. We'll talk about that in a second, what I think that might mean. Thanks to JDW on Horror Night Nightmares, Jeremy. So yeah, thanks to that, I may have an idea for that. And I'm going to give you full credit for this because you came up with it. Now, right now we've also, after Dr. Jimmy's cryptic performances, we've got some clues. Clues equaling out to pictures. The first clue was in 4 pictures. And these 4 pictures have connected to some interesting properties, and potentially leading us to the Revolutionary War and to Sleepy Hollow. Maybe Sleepy Hollow or the Headless Horseman being our urban legend property this year, potentially. Or maybe some sort of an IP property. And then our second clue ends up going to what everyone wants right now and connecting to Alien. It is said, luck favors the bold, will your courage falter, where pain flows like a river, will you succumb to its water? Now, Jeremy also figured out the image that was used was from 3 Studies for Figures at the Base of the Crucifixion by Francis Bacon. Now, Dr. Jimmy said that Ridley Scott asked Geiger to use the above as a reference to the chest burster, for the chest burster in the film. And the Nostromo itself was named after a character in the book, A Tale of a Seaboard by Joseph Conrad. The character was Brave. Nostromo is Italian for shipmate or boatswain. So, apparently during Alien vs. Predator, there is a phrase that is scrawled in white across the armor of Vasquez. And it says, El risco siempre vive, which is a literal translation to risk always lives. Which is basically a variant on Cicero's luck favors the bold. So yes, it sounds to me like if you're looking through the second clue, it is connecting us to Alien. And I'm sure Dr. Jimmy will be connecting us to Alien sooner rather than later. Our third clue is, there was a time that the pieces fit, but I watched them fall away. I've done the math enough to know the dangers of our second guessing. Which is a lyric of Schism by Tool. So many things you can connect to this. And it sounds to me, and I have complete agreement with Mystic Freak that this is also leading us to either the return of The Walking Dead or the return of Resident Evil, potentially, because the chemical is methylamine, and it occurs in biological chemistry during putrefaction. Putrefaction is basically a part of decomposition, which is basically rotting corpses, which also could equal out to Resident Evil, so it's possible. Well, another very interesting thing comes down the line. The final picture. And it is a picture of what appears to be a shopping list and a black glove holding the shopping list. It says, the boss needs some things. I wonder if I should be talking like Tara Strong or Arlene Sorkin right now. The boss needs some things, so that's all for now. Zinc oxide, bismuth subnitrate, talc, iron oxide 5605. I'll be back after a time with the what, where, and how. Well, iron oxide 5605 is a green pigment. All of these are connected through paint in one form or another. Paint. Who wears green paint? Who wears white and green paint? Who connected to Halloween Horror Nights speculation already for the event this year wears white and green paint? Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I believe this is a shopping list for face paint. Not regular paint, face paint. And why? Because we are getting the return of Jack the Clown. And when you think about this mysterious person that is sending these cryptic emails to Mystic Freak, her initials are CC. Maybe CC is Chance the Clown. So yes, that means that both Jack and Chance will be returning to Halloween Horror Nights this year. Now, there was speculation, obviously, back in January, we're talking about the guy who was, you can say it with me, the guy that was playing the Grinch at Christmas last year was receiving a contract to play Jack the Clown this year in a new show. Well, obviously, Jack showed up in quite an abundance last year at the event. He was in Cabin in the Woods at the very end. If you look upwards in the final room of the house, he was available in both pin and uni-mini form, and there was all the speculation he was going to come back to the event. There was a lot of speculation the icons were to come back to the event. And Jack, during his supposed swan song at 20 Years of Fear, basically said in some sort of a, I can't call it a press conference, but it kind of was, I guess you could say, Jack said it was his final bow. But A&D themselves said that Jack, the caretaker, the director, the usher, and the storyteller were all just on hiatus for the next few years. Leading us to our potential horror homecoming in 2015. And also leading us to the return of Jack the Clown. So yes, this looks more and more like that it is going to be Jack and Chance coming to the event this year, which is awesome in every way possible. So yeah, this is what we've got right now. We've got a lot of things that we have to process, and a lot of things that have happened that we're not sure what to take from it. Is it real? Is it a work? We don't know. But we're speculating in May, and that's a good thing. To get us all thinking right now, this early in the event, that's a good thing. And I will give extreme kudos to Dr. Jimmy for coming up with this. So, yeah, that's what we've got right now. Our cryptic performances lead me to believe that our properties are Halloween, American Horror Story, and The Purge. Now, the connections to the emails are leading us to Alien, and they are leading us to either Nightingales or potentially Sleepy Hollow, which might be interesting. An urban legend of a headless horseman might be interesting. So much interesting imagery you would have in that house. And the return of Jack the Clown, coupled with either the returns of The Walking Dead for the last year in a soundstage, just like I predicted, or our second Resident Evil house, which could be another video game house, or we could base it towards the movies. Could go either way. Either way, there's a lot of awesome speculation going right now. And all of us out there, all of us Horror Night updaters out there, regular or just every once in a while, a lot of really awesome things are coming, and coming rather quickly. And speculation will eventually turn into truth. And speculation will eventually turn into a work. So, interesting to see where we actually go from here today. So, before I go, I want to throw out a few shout-outs. I want to throw out a shout-out to Angus Rocks 2001 at hotmail.com. He is on the Orlando United forums. And I was chatting with him over email, actually. I want to throw out a big shout out to Mystic Freak for coming up with a lot of really awesome answers to all the speculation. You are a genius, and I very much appreciate that you are helping all of us come up with the answers to these comments, as well as Jeremy as well. Jeremy, definitely, I need to throw out a shout to him as well. And all the awesome people that are on the Halloween Horror Nights forums, via Horror Night Nightmares, or the Facebook pages. All the people I've talked to and talked about in the past. And definite shout out to Charles from Designing the Fear. Definitely shout out to him. So, as well, I would like to thank all of the Horror Night Updaters all over the internet, either Orlando or Hollywood. Big shout out to Dr. Jimmy, Doc Hemo, as well as HHN Trogdor, Admiral HHN, my boy Psycho Massacre Films, and Dr. Emmett Brown 1, aka Vic, Mr. Horror Nights, UK HHN, The Deadly Fear 1283, The Red Steel TV, and HHN Fan I6, for all providing great content here in the most important time for Halloween Horror Nights speculation, when we're getting all this new information, and I continue to enjoy your videos, just like I hope you out there continue to enjoy mine. So, in the meantime, if you like these videos, tell your friends about them, leave a comment, do subscribe, and help spread the word about Pop. Like our Facebook fan page at Sir Owen Disney Pop, and you can send me a friend request if you'd like to on Facebook. It's Owen Disney. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, we can talk Horror Nights if you'd like. It's at Sir Owen Disney. Last but certainly not least, if you want to send your thoughts, comments, queries, and opinions, ideas you have for what could end up being the lineup for the 8 houses at Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando this year. If you'd like to talk about Horror Nights in Hollywood with me, if you'd like to just discuss your favorite houses, your least favorite houses, or just want to ask me a question about anything under the sun, then you're more than welcome to send me an email. It's sirowendisney@gmail.com. In the meantime, I want to thank you guys and girls out there for watching, and until tomorrow, boys and girls, that's all I gotta say about that.